Okay. Favorite question: what events led to the outbreak of World War One? Although we typically learn about the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, the cause of World War One was rooted deeply in the history of Europe. My thesis statement is: the roots of World War One lay in the intense political turmoil which marked turn of the century Europe. My 3 points are: decline of the Ottoman Empire, the competition of Germany and the UK, and a series of embarrassments for Russia, and that's it. Okay, the decline of the Ottoman Empire. After reaching its peak in 1683, the Ottoman Empire slowly collapsed. With its decline came increasing opposition, both internally and externally. The Ottoman Empire was losing its land because of conflicts. Eventually, Greece, Bosnia, Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, and Montenegro would achieve independence from the Ottomans. The Ottomans at this point in the 20th century only controlled a narrow band of territory in Europe. In September of 1908, Austria and Russia met in secret to discuss how they would deal with the crumbling Ottomans. They eventually agreed to give Austria the territory of Bosnia and Russia the territory of Bosphorus and Dardanelles. This gave their fleets in the Black Sea across to the Mediterranean, because at that point in time, the power vacuum of the Ottomans, they could control the flow of goods through the Black to the Mediterranean Sea, vice versa. So that was a very key point to hold back then, when trading was a big deal, and the best way to trade was through boat. So they would have to go across the sea and have a tariff on their goods, and if Russia and Austria didn't have a tariff, they would grow much stronger and be much bigger countries. Secondly, the growth of competition between Germany and the UK led to the emergence of the Theodese trap. So what is the Theodese trap? Well, Graham Allison says, when one great power threatens to displace another, war is almost always the result. The Franco-Persian War was a fight against the French and the Persians. The French were blinded by national pride and thought they would easily win because of their power and size. They just created new weapons, so a sort of old-fashioned machine gun and a faster loading rifle. So they thought that it was an easy win for them, so they did not try their hardest, and that led to their downfall. On August 6th, 1870, the commander of the French right wing retreated westward. On September 19th, the Germans started to besiege Paris. They tried to make a treaty, and it was broken off when Germany wanted too much land, and in January 28th, 1871, the French surrendered to the Germans, creating the German state, because back then Germany was not a place. It was the land was owned by the Persians, so Germany is a fairly new country. The creation of the German states led to the rise of German colonies in Africa. German colonization in Africa pushed it to develop a powerful modern navy, capable of competing with the British Royal Navy. And Paul Cornish said, between 1900 and 1914, Germany became identified as Britain as a chief foreign threat to its empire. So back then, everyone knows Britain and the UK were some powerful forces, and if Germany, the opposing force, had a just as good fleet or better, that led to some struggle in power. And of course, every country wants to be most powerful, and their ties between the countries were getting more and more severe. My last point: a series of embarrassments for Russia In 1804, the Japanese fleet launched a surprise attack on the Russian naval squadron Port Arthur. The heavily fortified Port Arthur base could have held out for months, but the commander instead quickly and embarrassingly surrendered without waiting for the reinforcements. After this embarrassing defeat, Russia was out for revenge, so Russia decided to surprise attack Japan. They thought of an idea to send military vessels through the Mediterranean Sea and into the Indian Sea and surprise attack Japan that way. This didn't work, however, because of disagreements between Europe. Instead, they had to go around Africa. By this time, Japan had been notified, and when Russia eventually showed up, they were taken out within hours. This led Russia to be hungry to fight someone else and join in a war. So those are the events that led up to the beginning of the First World War.